He just needs to publicly say, if anyone in the bureaucratic system, from Hazard to Chant or any of these other morons that are pressing this nonsense, want to continue, you're out. You've got 48 hours. I'll personally sign your discharge. You're gone.
Wow, what an amazing 24 hours it's been. Hundreds of thousands of people have viewed the segment of Dominic Perrottet versus John Larter on 2GB, and mainstream media have been massively covering it. 3 newspapers, Channel 7 doing a full segment on it, all just covering the news, covering this move to actually drop the mandates from both public and private sector areas. They're saying this is done to actually rejuvenate and replace the numbers that have been missing in nursing, for example, and other emergency services. John Larter, full credit to you. In fact, I just finished an interview with John. Here's what it sounded like. 3 newspapers have basically come out and written an article about this, and not necessarily in a bad light at all. Just doing their job, covering the news. And on top of that, Channel 7, which I'm going to include in this segment, have done a 2-minute segment as well about this, calling it a push to end the jabs across Sydney in the private and public sector. I mean, that was all just based off a chance 30-second call that you had on 2GB.
Amazing stuff, mate. It was just in the lap of the gods, really. We left at 2:30 in the morning to drive down to the Industrial Relations Commission to try and get Caitlin's job back. I was listening to Ben, and at 5:30 he said, I'm going to be interviewing the Premier. If you've got any questions, ring in with them now. So I rang at 5:30 and spoke to the producer, and the producer said, get back at 7:30, and I wondered whether they would ring back, because I previously rung 2GB and been blacklisted on other programs, but Ben's been really, really good. So.
Is it true that during the tribunal you actually were able to use the segment with Perrottet as evidence in the actual tribunal hearing?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure that they'd call it evidence, but certainly Shane Prince, Senior Counsel, and AFL solicitors through Tony Nikolic were able to introduce that, saying that the Premier, the morning, has made these comments and statements, and you should ultimately think about your position here, because your chief, the chief of the Wales, has made a very wide-ranging statement that essentially gives no grounds for being in this place.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that they were of the same view, because the problem is with the law, they're fighting on technicalities and whether something was done within the aspects of the law as it stood. I suppose they're not looking at whether something was morally bankrupt, which this was, and a complete safety breach for all of the world. That's where we're at. And that's something that will obviously come out in the Royal Commission. But look, this is a massive breakthrough, I think, in the scheme of things. And perseverance, that's where we're all at. Every one of us that's been in this fight, from those that have just donated $2 or given us a hug, they've been in this. They're part of every moment of this, and it's just so important from here to keep pushing, because if we don't keep pushing now, all this hard work is going to be undone, and we need to make sure that the safety of people is paramount, and all those aspects of this madness that have been front and centre for the 3 years are exposed, need help, get help, and we can move forward.
Yeah, well, there must be an election coming up on March 25th in New South Wales for the state.
Yeah.
Look, we're coming out with resources, as you know, for every election, just like we did in the federal and the Victorian, at tpos.com.au. But can I ask you, what was your reaction when you heard Ben Fordham question Dominic Perrottet?
They're not listening to you. And I saw you throw your head back in frustration when the words vaccine mandates came out of my mouth and out of John's mouth. You understand the frustration here, but as Premier of this state, You don't have the power to make this happen.
What do you think was going through Peretay's head? Was he acting in good faith? Was it the fact that he's frustrated with bureaucrats? What do you think was going through his head?
I ultimately think, Joel, that Dominic Peretay is probably a good person who believes in our position. But I think the poor bugger has been absolutely hijacked by the Liberal Party's left. The wokes have just taken over. He just doesn't have control, and he knows it. He can demonstrate real leadership, and I think that's what people are looking for, because they don't see it in the opposition. The only thing that's going to get the opposition over the line is the fact that the Liberals have been in government for such a long time. And I think the Labor Party will be tougher on all this COVID nonsense than the Liberal Party have ever been. And that's probably demonstrated when we see what's happened when the Labor Party have got in these other states.
I pray that the Premier's hesitancy is mainly coming from the bureaucrats and also the Matt Keane faction, the left-wing faction within the Liberal Party. But I guess all will be revealed in the coming weeks.
Ultimately, Joel, I think Peretay can be even more decisive. He could say to these bureaucrats, whether he thinks he does or doesn't have the power, he just needs to publicly say, if anyone in the bureaucratic system, from Hazard to Chant or any of these other morons that are pressing this nonsense that is baseless, want to continue, you're out. You've got 48 hours. I'll personally sign your discharge. You're gone.
Yeah.
That's how he needs to confront this.
Yeah. They don't make men that way anymore, do they, John?
Well, not in politics.
Maybe we've got to get you in there, John.
Well, I'm not sure that'll happen. But anyway, there are some very good people running, like John Ruddock, and look, let's just hope that enough good people get in there. There's been some good people. Tanya Davies is one.
Yes.
That is certainly working so hard behind the scenes to end all this. So we need to get behind those people that we can trust.
Absolutely, John. Look, thank you so much for your time. You've been very generous. I can't wait to get this out to everyone, because I know they're excited at the waves you're making, and there's not really many people punching for them at the moment, so they really appreciate it on their behalf.
Good on you, buddy.
Awesome. Have a good night, John. God bless.
You too. Take care, mate.
Ciao. Well, there you go. John Larter's a bloody legend. That's the wrap. If you want to check out the video on exactly what that Channel 7 segment looked like, this is what it looked like.
There's a fresh push to dump COVID vaccine mandates and help the nation's worker shortage by getting all available hands on deck. The Premier agrees, saying it's time to move on, as does the man who helped lead Australia's vaccination campaign, who now says mandates are no longer needed.
This is Todd on behalf of his brother, a man we cannot identify, who works for an agency we cannot name, or the man could lose his job.
Your employer isn't a doctor. Why should they have any say in any sort of medical procedure for their staff?
While his brother is employed, his salary was docked 2% last year because he refused to take the COVID vaccine.
20 plus years of service and just getting basically shit on.
He appealed but lost because rules are rules, but there is a push to change the rules.
The time for mandates is over. It's a time to move on. I've made it very clear to the public service, and I think the private sector should do the same.
Police and firefighters are among public sector groups continuing their battles before the Industrial Relations Commission over why they deserve to return to work.
The Premier has a number of reasons he wants to end work mandates. The first is economic. COVID routed the workforce, so the fewer job vacancies, the better. The second is based purely on fairness and science.
Things have changed dramatically. A lot of people are properly vaccinated, at least 2 doses, and if they've had disease on top of that, they've got hybrid immunity.
Epidemiologists say any threat COVID poses now is toward the unvaccinated, not their vaccinated co-workers.
I don't think we've got an appetite, I don't think we've got a desire, I don't think we've got a scientific need to vaccinate all people now. We only need to vaccinate the really vulnerable.
Robert Ovadia, 7 News.
If you want to support John and his work, click the link in the first comment or click the link in my bio and you'll see the link there to support his work. He's fighting to end jab mandates for everyone. This kind of coverage happens because John Larter is keeping his finger on the pulse when you guys are out working. If If you want to support his work, please, I strongly encourage you, donate to the guy. He's fighting lawsuits. He's got things coming left, right, and centre from the government. He really needs the support. God bless you, John. Keep up the great work.